Let's learn about trig applications. Hey baby, what's your sign? On our agenda, we're going to learn new angles, the angle of elevation and the angle of depression. We'll learn how to draw with them and allow them to solve our triangles. Let's get ready. You're going to need notes and pencil. Make sure you take notes on the vocabulary that I present, and definitely going to need a calculator. With our angles of elevation and depression, the line of sight, that's when you're looking at something, is the invisible line from one person or object to another person or object. So if this is my eyeball and then I'm looking straight out, that's our line of sight. Some applications of trig involve an angle of elevation and an angle of depression. So the angle of elevation is the angle formed by the horizontal. So when I look straight out, sort of think of this as an X-ray vision. And then the line of sight above the horizontal. So that means when I look up. Whenever I look up, I have an angle of elevation. So if you're told you have an angle of elevation, you should draw that above where you're looking from. The angle of depression, here's my eye, and then I have X-ray vision straight out. The angle of depression is the angle formed by the horizontal and then a line of sight below the horizontal. So you are looking down. When you're looking down, we're talking about the angle of depression. So how do you think the angle of elevation and the angle of depression are related in the following diagram? If I'm a person up in the plane and my eyes go straight out and then they look down, here's the angle of depression. If I'm a person on the boat and my eyes look straight down and then I look up, there's my angle of elevation. It turns out that they are congruent. If this is 20 degrees, then this one's going to be 20 degrees. Remember we have parallel lines cut by a transversal. Those are alternate interior angles, so they're going to be congruent. So when you're told you have the angle of depression, it doesn't really end up inside my triangle, so then I can transfer it over to the angle of elevation and move it down, so now it's inside my right triangle and we can apply our trig. So when we think about the kind of angle, if you're looking straight out and then you look up, you have angle of elevation. If you look down, you have angle of depression. What kind of angle of elevation or depression is coming from this girl? This would be down, so this is an angle of depression. If I'm on the boat, I'm looking up to the lighthouse, so this is going to be an angle of elevation. And in this picture, if I'm on the boat, then this is an angle of elevation. If I'm on the lighthouse, then this is an angle of depression. But notice they are the same. If I'm this person up on the lighthouse looking down and I see the numbers 38 and 52, it's the 38 that is the depression. Remember, go straight out with your eyes and then you're looking down. So yes, this is a 90 degrees up here and I can subtract and get 52, and now 52 is in my triangle, which is helpful, but 52 is not the angle of depression. If they tell you the angle of depression is 38, don't put the person up here, put the eyeballs out there, and then put the 38 down there. That is not an angle of depression. It's the angle formed with the line of sight. So let's look at how I would solve something like this. And I'm going to be the person on the boat, and I see my angle of elevation is 11.3. This distance, the horizontal distance to the lighthouse, is 275.25 feet, and I want to see how tall is that lighthouse. So I'm here, I want to orientate myself, and I'm looking at opposite and adjacent. And I can remember from SOHCAHTOA that opposite and adjacent is my last, so I'm using the tangent function. So I'm going to do the tan of 11.3, remember the tangent of your angle, equals my opposite, which is my unknown x, over my adjacent 275.25. I want to solve for x. Right now I'm dividing by the 275, so I'm going to multiply everything by that 275.25, and I get x to be 275.25 times the tangent of 11.3. Again, notice how I put it in front so that I'm not taking the tangent of that 275 number. It's 275 times the tangent of that. When you go ahead and hit that on your calculator, you get it to be about 55 feet high. Let's look at this one. We've talked about the angle of depression here. Here's my person. Here's the angle that I'm looking at. It is my angle of depression. I'm going to bring it into angle A, and I'm going to say 38. So now it's in this triangle. I want to know, oh, this is 40 feet. So this is opposite and adjacent. So this looks like it's going to be tangent again. So we're going to do tangent of 38 equals opposite, which is 40 over adjacent. This time my x is in my denominator, so I'm dividing by x, so I need to multiply everything by x. So I get x times tangent of 38 equals 40. And then I divide everything by tangent of 38. And I get this one to be about 51.2 feet away from the lighthouse. We're looking for the horizontal distance there. So what if no picture is given? Be careful in how you draw it and label it. Make sure you're putting the angle of elevation or depression in the correct spot. So here we have Justin. He's flying a kite. He has all the string let out, and it's 200 feet long. How high is the kite off the ground if Justin himself is 6 feet tall and the angle of elevation at his hand is 38 degrees? And I'm going to ask you to round to the nearest foot. So let's picture what that looks like. So here I have Justin, and I know he's 6 feet tall. Here's his line of sight, and I'm also going to put 6 feet tall there. You'll see why in a minute. Here's the kite string, tail, that would be the tail. This would be the string to his hand. And we know that that is 200 feet long. He let out all the string. How high is the kite off the ground if Justin is 6 feet tall and the angle of elevation, which is right here, is 38 degrees? So I need to know this height, and then I have to add it to the 6 so that I can get all the way to the ground. So this is forming my right triangle. I go to my angle. I see what I have, which is my opposite, and in this case, now my hypotenuse. So that's going to be sine, which uses opposite and hypotenuse. So I'm going to say the sine of 38 equals h over 200. I'm dividing by 200, so I'm going to multiply everything by 200. I like to flip my h around to the other side, and I get h to be 200 times sine of 38. When you do that on your calculator, you get 123.13. Did ask to be rounded to the nearest foot. I have to remember to add the 6. I'm going to add the 6, and I get about 129 feet high is that kite. So remember, you want to draw and label your picture, put the angle of elevation or depression in the correct spot, determine which trig function you're using, sine, cosine, or tangent, and then solve it using trig. Nice work.